Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 252. Today we're going to talk about Dwarf King. This is a little bit older of a game, published in, it says 2012, so I guess about 2 years ago. Designed by Bruno Ferduti, plays 3 to 5 players, and it's very much a trick-taking game. And I've said in the past that I'm kind of fed up with trick-taking games. I really don't like any of them until I played a game called Chronicle last year, which is designed by Seiji Kanai. And that has sort of a variable win condition, round by round trick-taking game where you're trying to sort of outmaneuver and figure out how to out-strategize based on certain goals for each round. Well, Dwarf King pretty much has that same flavor. It has a different, kind of take on it. And I'll just say up front, I'm going to keep this one and Chronicle in my collection. I'll explain more of that in the review portion. But let's take a look at how this game works, and then I'll come back and tell you more about it in the review. Basically everything you get in Dwarf King. Now you get a stack of these quest tiles here, and basically all these are is you're going to flip one up at the beginning of each round. You're going to have 2 possible quest outcomes. Now the player that is dealt the 5 blue card, basically the 5 of knights, is going to choose which of those 2 quests. So you're going to deal out all the cards first, and then that player is going to take a look at their hand and say, okay, I'm either going to get +1 point for each trick taken or -1 point for each trick taken. And the next round maybe, let's see, +5 points if you take exactly 3 tricks, +5 points if you take exactly 1 trick. And there's a whole variety of things in this stack. So after you deal all the cards out, you're going to also take a look at whoever has the red 5 here. The red 5 is going to be the player that leads. They don't have to lead with the red 5, but they can lead with whatever they want. Now you have here a stack of special cards. So there are, I believe, 11 of these or so. So you're going to take one of these each round and shuffle it in there. Now you're going to show it to everybody so everybody's going to see it. So this one is the winner of the next trick scores 3 points. So what's going to happen is when we're playing our hands around, so this is going to go out, whoever wins that trick wins it. And then we're going to make note that the winner of the following trick is going to win 3 points. And we've got this one here, so -3 points for the player who takes this card. This is the Shaman. We've got this one here, this is an 11. The player who takes this card doubles his score for this hand, whether positive or negative. So you can see each round you're going to get 1 new quest chosen by the guy who had the blue 5. And then you're going to get 1 special card each round. So you're going to play, the game says play 7 rounds. That's probably my one issue with the game, is the way that is decided, the number of rounds, but I'll talk about that more in the review. That's my only issue with the game, really. Then you're going to deal these out, and people are going to play, a hand of cards. And it's basically like any trick-taking game. So if I lead a red 2, you have to follow red unless you don't have red. Now there is no trump. Sometimes there's a trump card in here, like the dragon or something. There's not always going to be a trump suit or anything. So you lead those out, whoever has the highest card of the color that was led is going to win the trick. And the reason for wanting to win or not win the tricks is all based on this, and sometimes a little bit based on this. Now the cool thing about this is a lot of times you're going to have very interesting and sometimes very different synergies that are going to happen based on the special card that is in the deck somewhere, and whatever quest was chosen for that round. So a lot of times they're really going to match up and you go, oh man, this card is really going to be powerful. Or maybe the card is going to give you sort of an escape. You've got a hand not really set up to win any points out of the quest, but maybe you've got a card that gives you 3 points or something like that for some other conditions. So you kind of try to play and gear your strategy towards the special card versus the quest. Basically, there's 3 colors in the game. You've got blue, red, and green. The greens are dwarves, the blues are knights, and then the reds are goblins. And so, you've got your typical 2 through ace, and ace is the highest. This is a champion card here. So you can see there's our knight champion, here's our knight king, and stuff like that. So the aces are high. And then you basically just play that out, and you play 7 rounds, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins, and that's pretty much the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. Like I said, I enjoyed Chronicle quite a bit, enough to make me kind of break my anti-trick-taking thing. This one is probably in some ways better than Chronicle, and in other ways not as good. So the thing that I like about this better than Chronicle is the variety from round to round. Like I said, you have the quest versus the special card that you're going to shuffle in. So the way that those two will kind of interact and sort of play upon the metagame is going to be very different. I mean, we played this thing probably almost 10 times, I'm say maybe 8, 9, 10 times, and over the last couple weeks. And and that's 7 rounds a piece times whatever, so 70 rounds roughly. And really, it's still coming back to us with this, how dynamic this can be and how interesting the trick taking can be. Because you got you're dealt a kind of a different configuration of cards too. So all that kind of mixed up really spices it up and makes it very interesting. And you got the whole reverse. I don't want any tricks. I want a bunch of tricks. I want this exact one trick or whatever. I don't want anything. So that makes it very interesting, and it doesn't fly off the rails like some of the other ones I played that have that sort of spiced up thing. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, there are 2 good trick-taking games on this earth, and that's Chronicle and this game, because I'm done with all those other ones. Now, ladder climbing game, that's a different story. There's a few good ones there, but for my money, and I've played a lot of different trick-taking games, and there's a reason you don't see me review very many on here. These 2 are the cream of the crop. Now, where this I think beats Chronicle in that aspect of the round-to-round, differentiation and the variety that's going to happen. Chronicle has it, but not quite as much as this. It's a little bit more streamlined and pared down in that way. But the problem with this one is, and like I said, I played it about 10 times, and I've only seen it probably, I want to say it's less than 30%, maybe about a quarter of the time. You kind of feel like you don't have a shot because you get a certain number of points each round. It's possible for somebody to get so much of a lead that the last quest you flip up and the most anybody can get is 5 points. So there's no way they're going to catch them, so why even play that last round? Now, it doesn't happen most of the time. Most of the time people are pretty tight and it's kind of in there. But the way that Chronicle scores is basically if you win whatever the condition is, you get basically 1 point. You get a little token that says you won that round. And sometimes you can get 2 in a round. And you basically play to 3 tokens. So if this could do something like that where it would change up the dynamics too much though with the way the cards are scored. But I would say instead maybe you play to a certain point count or something, or you just kind of play till whatever. It's not really, I don't fault the game for that, because if you play like, I don't know, spades or hearts or something, you can play to a fixed number of points and somebody can run away with it. So it'd probably be better to play to a certain number of points. That way people can kind of bash the leader a little bit, which I think would be okay in this game. But that's kind of my one caveat. That last round, maybe there's no reason to play it because whoever's in the lead is in the lead by 20 points. But like I say, that doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. So you're kind of getting rid of one for the other with Chronicle versus Dwarf King. You got a lot more variety and interesting stuff happening between each round and each game with Dwarf King, but you got a kind of maybe a little bit flat end game there. Whereas Chronicle you won't, because you've got the dynamics of how the evil cards and things work like that. If you aren't familiar with Chronicle, definitely go watch that review. But I'm definitely gonna have both in the collection. There's no reason for me not to have both. They're very tiny anyway. So anyway, so that's Dwarf King. Thanks.